So the new H1 is, it's not driven by power takeoffs anymore. In the past, most duct trucks always had a power takeoff where you're running a 300 horsepower engine at the front, and then you're running a power takeoff with a drive shaft that comes to the back. It comes up, belts, pulleys, you know, the whole 9 yards comes up, and you get the fan spinning, the compressor spinning. To run all that drive shaft and all that stuff, it just didn't make sense. Mainly because you got a 300 horsepower engine that, if you're lucky, it's getting 50 or 60 horsepower out of the PTO, out of the transmission. And then running that all the way to the back, it's a lot of moving parts that you just don't need anymore. Not to mention that a lot of these trucks, they don't come with that drive gear anymore. So to run a power takeoff on these trucks is almost impossible these days. You're down to a Freightliner or maybe a Ford that you can actually do that anymore. Not to mention, a lot of these truck manufacturers don't want to cover the warranty on the power takeoff. The power takeoff companies don't necessarily want to cover the warranty when it breaks down, and these things break down a lot. So we've gotten rid of the PTO system altogether and gone to our own, what we call engine drive technology, EDT. And what EDT is it's basically a motor driving the fan, and in this case we've actually got a Cat turbo diesel engine running off there's a fluid coupler, and we're not really showing this off too much because we're kind of keeping this a secret how we've done this. But we've got a single belt that drives the fan, and then we got another belt that drives the compressor. And in this particular application, it's called the Cat turbo diesel system. And then we've got a clutch system, and basically starts up, and we'll show you how it starts in another video. But basically you've got a little 60 horsepower, 180 foot-pounds torque engine driving this fan. This engine only draws 2.8 liters of fuel per hour, which is almost nothing. And the beautiful part about this Cat turbo is it's barely even running. It just runs a hair above idle, so it's not even working to power the fan and the compressor. So this little Cat turbo can go forever. It can literally thousands and thousands of hours before you wear it out. Change the oil, it's very low maintenance, and the fact that it's a Cat turbo means that you can take it to any fitting dealership and they'll cover it under warranty if something should break. And it's a nice, clean, easy system, and it runs perfect. Now, we also have another system called the Hypervac system. This is the Cat turbo diesel that we can use. It's a little more expensive. The Hypervac system is a little cheaper, and it's a little simpler operation. And we'll check the Hypervac out right here. So this is our Hypervac system. The suction is the exact same, whether it be Hypervac or Cat turbo diesel or even our own Hypervac duct trucks, the old systems. The suction is pretty much the same, around 12,000 CFM, except for the static pressure on these is actually higher than our old duct trucks. One of the reasons why is, on the old duct trucks we used to have a 40-inch blade, a massive 40-inch blade, and it would spin at 1,200, 1,500 RPMs. Here we've got a smaller blade, it's about half the size, but it's spinning at 3,000 to 3,600 RPMs. So we're not getting quite as much CFM, but we're getting far more static pressure. The beautiful part about this is it's a much smaller package, it's lighter, you can, you know, easy to install. And one of the most beautiful parts is there's no belts, there's no pulleys. We got a special fluid coupling system here, and this little guy here, it's basically a clutch and a transmission all wrapped up into one. And so you can turn the fan freely. It's not spinning the crank at all right now. But there's oil inside here, so when the engine gets turning, it turns half of this coupler, which in turn forces the oil to the outside, which turns the front half of the coupler. And then that transfers the torque, and it's 100% torque transfer through to the shaft. And the shaft is sitting on 2 high-speed bearings, and that's a 2-inch shaft. So that 2-inch shaft and that fan, you're never going to have to worry about the fan or the crank, the shaft breaking, because it's so thick. And then you also get a nice little 35, 37 horsepower Kohler. You can also use a Briggs engine powering the fan, and you're still getting the same suction as a normal duct truck, but you're not getting all the maintenance, the hassle, the pulleys, the belts. And really the only maintenance you have to worry about is changing the oil on the engine and greasing your bearings a few times a year. Simple. There's virtually nothing that can really break down. And this is a nice, cheap, cost-efficient system. If this engine does go in 3 or 4 years down the road, you can literally change it out, minimal cost, and literally be up and running in 2 to 3 hours.